Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Sibua and I appreciate that you're here with me today. So I welcome you in the Ford Ranger Fx4. Today I'm just going to give you like my view on it based on the last week. We've had it for a week or so. So guys, what happened there is that I did a review, and then as I was working on the video to bring it to you after being with this car for a week, I got an invite from Ford that we need to come and preview the next generation Ranger. I was like, nah, that review now, we can't go on without talking about the next generation Ranger. We have to talk about it in here as well. So of course in the FX4, and some people are even confused if like, is there a difference between Wildtrak and others? There is a difference, especially when we're talking about the FX4, because the FX4 is based on the XLT. You know, Ranger normally it comes in like variants will be like XL, XLS, XLT, Wildtrak, and then you get to the Raptor. So in this one, this is based on the XLT. It doesn't, mechanically it's not even different. It's just that it has a few cosmetics that have changed, like they've put like mascaras and makeup here and there so that it can be able to look different. And it's Ford's way of bringing you that little special edition so that you can be able to, you know, to keep it fresh. You know, that's the thing that they are trying to achieve, I think, with these particular special editions like the Stormtrak and the Thunder. So the difference between the three or the four, including the Wildtrak in this case, is that this one based on the XLT has the single turbo, of course 2-liter single turbo, 132 kilowatts, and yeah, at 420 Newton meters of torque. And then you get to those ones that has like two turbos now, bi-turbo, 157 kilowatts, 500 Newton meters of torque. You're talking much more powerful variants because they're based on the top spec Wildtrak. So those are the main differences. And when you get to this one compared to the normal XLT, of course, you get like bigger 18-inch rims that look like amazing, these blacked out ones. These blacked out like mirrors on the side and the door handles, you know, the grille. It looks way amazing when you're looking at it compared to the XLT, the normal one, of course. So that's mainly the differences that you see in here. Of course, the big, what do we call this bar? The big sports bar, the extended one. You definitely not gonna miss that with this one, because for some people it might look a little bit peculiar, but you know what? You get used to it over time, and it has some function. You know, when you're looking back, you can see where the car is. Like it ends somewhere at the end of that bar. At least you can be able to see it via the rear view mirror. But then now let's talk about the new one as well. This one is the XLT, remember? So the new one that we previewed was the XLT as well, which helped us to see, okay, this is now how the XLT is going to look. And when you're looking at the new one, the difference between, the main difference, you can see clearly that it has changed. It's now more boxy, you know. It's not just a mere update. It's literally a change. Like it's almost an overhaul of what we are used to. That's why I think some people are not warming up to it as yet, because they feel like, you know what, you know, when you've been seeing something for so long, this range has been around for like, what? Yeah, it's been around. It's been here since 2011 and it's been facelifted twice. This is the second facelift. Still looking great. Somehow Ford managed to just keep it fresh, especially on the exterior. Now, when people come to the new one, they tend to look at it and be like, nah, but I still like the old one. Maybe because they just had this fresh update from the current ones that we are driving right now, like this one that we are in. But otherwise, when you see it in metal and see the differences, you might love it, because the changes are easy to see from the front, especially when you're looking at the fact that the new one is more boxy compared to the old one. The old one, it was like a little curvy on the edges, but when you look at the new one, it's more like squarish, and you can clearly see. I think one thing that I notice about the new one is that it's going to be clearly distinguishable, especially at night. You won't miss it. The XLS, I'm not sure if it's going to come with LEDs and day running lights that are LED and so on, so it might not be as distinguishable as the XLT. But looking at the XLT, I don't think you're going to miss it. It looks totally different, of course. The grill, they took it and extended that grill, and then they took those C-shaped LED lights just to hug it, you know, just to hug that grill, incorporated some diamonds effect inside so that it can bring that modern look. That's the thing that you won't miss, the modernness and how it looks like, I mean, business. When you come to the side, you can see that now that that square shape as well is appearing more compared to the old one. When I'm looking at it, it looks like it's bigger and wider, but I am entirely not sure because I have struggled to find like dimensions clearly to say then what is happening. But it looks bigger overall. When you come to the back, that's where another difference you're going to see that like tailgate. Is it a tailgate? Yeah, it's a tailgate. Okay, whatever you call it. It's like engraved with the Ranger nameplate in there. The old models that we had, at least in this country, they just had like stickers saying Ranger. You're going to see that. They maintain the light, what do they call it at Ford? When you're trying to close this thing, it's like so light, it's not even heavy whatsoever. Then when you're looking inside the load bay, that's where you're going to see then that there's quite a difference between XLT and the old one and the new one, because the old one had lights in the bar, in the sports bar there, like illuminating in the load bay, but this one has like the lights inside the load bay just down there. So now that's, I don't know if it's going to be functional if then you have like a lot of stuff packed in and you're trying to unpack like late at night. With the old one, it could easily be functional because they were on top and not necessarily inside the load bay. Coming inside, that's where I think we're not going to have a lot of arguments, because wow, this is the modernized version of a workhorse lifestyle bakkie in this case. For lifestyle, it's going to be easy because everything is modernized. When you're looking at it, digitalization is at the front of everything that is happening. I mean, the old one, if there's one thing we can agree on, the outside looks fresh, but you know, the moment you get in, looking at the dash layout, you can clearly see that this has been around for some time. You know, Ford has updated it here and there, of course, over time, but you still can see the age. I mean, the layout of the buttons, the choice of materials that are used, the screen is still engraved inside the plastics. You know, as much as there's this piano-like shiny effect that is happening, you can still pick up that it has seen like time. So I think when it comes to that, when I'm thinking exterior and interior, it's easy to see that the exterior is being refreshed, even like for the current standard. I think it's still one of the best looking vehicles, but when you come inside, you clearly can see, you know, when you turn around to the seats, they're nice, you know, especially for the FX4, because they're engraved with this FX4 badging, red stitching that is happening around the cabin as well. It's obviously bringing some life to it, but you can't miss it on the dash. Too many buttons, too many plastics and so on. The steering wheel as well has like, yeah, these are too many buttons, but you realize how easy are they to use when you're driving it. Coming to the new one though, everything like it's just changed. It's like in the new world altogether, because now there's this big tablet style screen that you're seeing here. Less use of buttons. Even on the steering wheel, they've changed it. Now it's just like a car, basically, like the modern car that you can get. One thing I like though is like the choice of materials are still showing you that you are in an off-roader or a capable rugged car that can do the work. I think that's one thing that they got right. Modernize it, but don't make it like it's like a lifestyle SUV kind of. So they got that right. I think the effects that they've done on the doors as well, the design of the armrest on the doors as well, around this cabin, I think they managed to pull off one great looking like bakkie feel that you can get inside, but also allows you to have that lifestyle kind of vibe. So that one, I think they got it right when it comes to the new one. So I think if this was a boxing match, a real one, that you're just putting them side by side and trying to see which one is better, I would always go for the new one, because it obviously is an improvement of the old model. But I can't discredit the fact that there are people who really love the current gen and they would still want to get it in this way. And when you're looking at the fact that it's still packed with modern tech, especially as you go up, you know, you still, I mean, this particular one that we are in, the XLT Fx4, you get a lot of tech. You can still start this car. I mean, this car has a CD player and you can still start it via the cell phone. When are you gonna get that? Ever? I mean, this is the last time you're ever gonna get that. So I would understand why someone would want to rush to buy the current gen before the next gen. At the same time, for lifestyle purposes as well, I mean, can we really say the old model is better than the new one for lifestyle purposes? I don't think that would be fair on the new one, because no matter what, we can conclude to say, no, the looks, subjective, what, I don't like the tag, the screen, the what. The new one is definitely an improvement of the old one. That's for sure. So let's talk about living with this car and driving it. How is it to just live with it on a normal day? If you were to have it as a daily driver, because I used it like a daily driver, I took it to shopping, I went to fetch kids with it and so on. I did everything that a person can do if they have this car as a daily. So the biggest challenge for me, because the FX4 doesn't come with that roller shutter that is in the, what is that, the Thunder and the Stormtrak. So it's quite challenging, especially because I'm in South Africa. When you go into shopping and the full family is in here, everyone, the seats are occupied and so on, it's quite tricky because the shopping bags, you have to put them in the cabin as well. You need to, everything that you bought needs to be in here, because you can't put it at the back. You get to the traffic light, you will get home without groceries. You know, this is South Africa. So it's quite challenging. Of course, that is not limited to Ford, it's limited to everyone. But I think if you're getting a bakkie like this, that roller shutter is like amazing, especially for us in this country. Otherwise, coming to driving the car every day, I had some form of a love-hate relationship with it, because if you look at the way I started this video, when I started showing you the drive part of it, you could see that I'm saying like go, go, go. I'm talking to the car in that sense, because it has this stable leg that it's not easy to get used to, especially if you haven't driven it for that long. It's like it goes into gear 1, 2. When it gets to 3, it's like it's locked in that gear. You push it, it gives it all the power that it can give at gear 3, and then it kicks in after. That can be a little bit frustrating, especially when you're moving from traffic light to traffic light. This happens mostly when you are on like normal drive, like D, and not necessarily on sport. I'll touch on sport just now. But that thing for me, it gives me that thing of saying this car feels a little bit heavy for everyday driving when you're just living with it, unless if of course you get used to it over time and then you just manage to time it and know how to ease, because the diesel wants you to ease into it all the time. If you want to push it, you need to be like very easy in how it gets into gears and so on, because this has a 10-speed transmission. What I can say is, once you put it on sport, even if you're driving it on a normal day, that's when it becomes like a different beast altogether. I don't know about the bi-table ones. I haven't driven the bi-table ones because this is a single table. But maybe the bi-table ones is fine even on drive, because it has much more power and much more torque, so it can easily just pick up. In this one, when you put it on sport, it's like it unlocks this power that was hidden. It's like Ford is hiding 30 kilowatts from us when you're putting it on D, but when you put it on sport, then it comes alive. That's when then, you know, it easily moves. The table leg is much minimal. It happens just as you're pressing the accelerator, and then from there, it's like every gear it can manage it. It can manage it. It doesn't limit you, doesn't hold back. It goes. I enjoyed it more on sport, but the disadvantage with that, of course, is the fuel consumption. This car, I drove it for, I think for 4 days, I was averaging just around maybe 8.1, 8.4 or something. But the moment I started saying, you know what, I'm going to put on sport because it's easier to drive for me when I'm on sport, wow, it shot up to like 9.1, 9.4, which is not necessarily bad because this car is heavy, But when you're thinking about the current fuel consumption, and why am I saying fuel consumption? The current fuel prices and so on, yeah, it might be something else. It might just be something else. But easing into it, if you don't want to drive it spiritedly and so on, so easy. You can just, live around 8 liters per 100 and be at peace, Now, one of the best things I experienced with this car, this is one of the best, is the steering wheel. I don't know if I ever experienced a steering wheel that is as light as this. No matter whether you put it on sport or whatever, this steering wheel, wow. I don't even think it changes in terms of putting it on sport or on normal drive, but it's just so light that it's like the wheels are not necessarily on the ground. That's how light it is. You can easily just turn it. When you're trying to turn the car, even when you're driving in like a place where that like narrow paths and so on, it's like so supportive, and that's one thing I really enjoyed about it. Again, when it comes to the comfort, wow, Ford, I don't know how they did this like, wow, it's like it's sitting on multi-links or something at the back, the way it's so comfortable. I experienced the comfort, most of it in cars that have like multi-link suspension at the back. Basically, it's a suspension that is like independent in the way it's bumping it when you like hitting the bumpy roads. It's independent from the wheels at the back, and so it can easily just support the other side, can support the comfort the other side, and so on. That's how independent multi-link works. In here though, the way it's so comfortable, I think maybe it's because I'm used to bakkies where the load bay shakes a bit and it rattles a bit when you hit bumpy roads, but everything in here feels like they just took the screws and tightened them to the core. It feels like one big part. It's like it's not separated by the load bay at the back. One big part. The comfort level in here is amazing. I can't even lie. But again, when it comes to the engine noise, this is a diesel. It feels like a truck. You can't run away from that, especially when you're driving in town and just trying to like pick up speed from traffic light or from the stop sign to stop sign and so on. Now, when you get to these back routes that are just open, that's when then you feel that, that comfort level is very much necessary, especially on a bumpy road where you're just going to be like hitting different surfaces and so on. I've already driven it on gravel. I'm not going to focus more on gravel because I did a special feature on that one. You should check that video if you haven't checked it out. You should check it. I just did a gravel drive and so on. But now on a road like this where you just, it's bumpy, it's curvy, it's whatever, it's like it manages this road so well. Even when you're hitting curves, some of them a little bit sharper and so on, it can manage. Like I said, the steering wheel is a little bit pointy for a car of this size. It manages to tell the wheels like, this is where we are going, and it easily goes there. I really find this car very comfortable. When it comes to the way it's handling the bumps and stuff, the noise that comes inside, the road noise, very much limited. The engine noise is still a little bit agricultural, even when you're doing that long like roads that are on the back routes and so on. It's still a little bit agricultural, but not as bad. Now, where you're going to feel that this is like a long cruiser, you can really do long distance in it, that's when I'm on the highway. I feel like when you're on the highway, you can really feel and see what Ford was trying to do when it's trying to balance like the lifestyle-ness of this car. I would say the lifestyle-ness of this car and the workhorseness of it, because it can still do the tough jobs. But when you get to the highway, taking your family along, doing that long trip, wow, this thing can cruise, eh? I mean, the noise suppression that happens, the insulation, the comfort that happens on the highway, it's quite amazing. When you're trying to overtake and take like, because the slope will be interchanging and going up and down, you can feel that agricultural sound coming out a bit, but it's not as bad. Even the wind noise is so minimal. And one thing that Ford does well, even for the lowest spec cars, is the sound systems. If you have any experience Ford sound systems, you should try it. You will see what I'm talking about. This sound system can easily cancel the road noise and the wind noise that comes from outside, and just give you that comfortable kind of drive. I've experienced this even in the lowest spec Ford Fiesta that I'm driving. I've been driving it for 7 years. To this day, I know the sound system can help me with that relaxation and not hearing the engine noise, the road noise, and so on. That's one thing that I really applaud Ford when it comes to managing how your experience will be when you're incorporating sound system all the way to wherever you want to go in life. I find that like when it comes to this car being a cruiser for like long trips, wow, they've done a really great job. I can't really complain much there. I find that the engine, the way it responds, the transmission, this 10-speed as well. You know, this 10-speed, you feel it like when it's like doing gear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From there, it's like it's non-existent. These 10 gears are a lot. It's just going to feel like it's just going and it's done. But it manages to help it to not over-rev and make that agricultural sound. I think they balanced it well with the engine, which is a great thing. Yeah, so I think from the drive you can tell that, yeah, on the highway, it's quite an enjoyable ride, especially if I don't have to overstop and so on. I think those ones with much more power can do a better job when it comes to stopping and going all the time. So the question, of course, would be, should you buy it or should you wait? You know, when I visited the plant, I realized that Ford actually is still busy with this current generation for some time, because when I looked around, it's just them. It's just the current generation Ranger and Everest being pushed out. Even the ones that they're going to be exporting, different variants, you'll see that there's a lot of them that are there at the parking lots where they're about to distribute them and go wherever they are going. There's still like a lot of them. I can't count, but I can even mention like maybe it's close to 1,000. I don't even know, but it's a lot of them. So Ford is probably still going to be pushing this for some time. So if you are not necessarily willing to wait until this next generation comes, you can still get it, because it's still packed with modern tech, especially when you go to the Wildtrak and above. You're still going to get like a modern tech car with a classic look, especially from the inside. So that, of course, you can't replace. I mean, having a CD player on a car that can start itself. When are you gonna get that ever? I repeat this because it's one of the things that just intrigued me, because the tech is modern, but you still get that classic feel. So it's gonna depend on whether you're getting it purely for lifestyle or you still want that off-roadness, classic kind of feel. So that's how I can close it. Otherwise, you're gonna have to wait until, I think they're gonna bring the new one in around November. The rumors are saying that. I'm not sure if that's gonna be the case or it's gonna come next year, but that's how long you're gonna wait. So, with that said, how can I not appreciate that you've been here with me for so long? Thank you very much for watching. Till next time, I am out.